Claude just added something new to Cowork. And if you've been wanting to be able to use Cowork while you're away from your desk, this is what you've been waiting for. It's called Dispatch, or at least that's what the menu option on the phone is called. So I think that's what everybody's going to be calling it. You open up your Claude app on your phone, you send off a task, it connects to your desktop app on your computer, and it gets to work. It uses the files on your computer, the skills, the connectors, the plugins, anything you have installed, and it tries to complete the task. And then when it's done, you can see the completed task on your phone app in the dispatch conversation. Or at least that's the promise. So today we're going to do a quick walkthrough of what dispatch is, how it works, how to set it up, and what the results of it are from my day one test. Let's go take a look. If you've used Claude Cowork before, you know what a great tool it is. One of the reasons it's so powerful is that it combines the ability of the Claude skills and connectors with the access to files directly on your computer. So you can really use it to get a lot of work done locally. But because it's a desktop app, if you wanted to use it while you were away from your computer, you were just out of luck. So now finally, Anthropic has given us access to Cowork remotely. They're giving us one continuous conversation with Claude, so you can log in through your phone, connect to Cowork, and fire off a task. Once that's done, you can see the results theoretically on your phone or in the Cowork session. And most importantly, you will need either a Pro or a Max plan. So these are the paid plans. This is not yet available to people on the free plans. So I just ran a few tests with Dispatch earlier today. I did have to get new versions of both my phone Claude app and my desktop Claude app. It's going to give you a few options to keep Dispatch up and running. Obviously, you have to give it access to your files. That should be on by default if you've used Cowork before. And secondly, and this is really nice, they give you a toggle to keep your computer awake. There's a lot of information these days about how to keep your computer up and running using caffeine or lungo, that kind of thing, to keep it from falling asleep so that anything that you're interacting with remotely can keep using the computer. So I like that they give you this toggle switch. You don't have to install any third-party software. That's really handy. And then optionally, you can allow Claude to use Chrome, and you want to make sure that all of your connectors are on. So once you're in, you can start chatting with Cowork on your phone. So this actually took me a little while to figure out. I actually had another video filmed, and I got all the way through the edit process before I actually figured out what it was Anthropic was really trying to do here. I actually thought this was going to work more like remote control. If you're not familiar with remote control, it's a remote view into your Claude Code terminal. You can see the terminal from your phone, you can type in commands, you can interact with it, you can go back to the terminal, and you have literally the exact same view. I thought this was going to be the same thing. I thought we were going to have a literal session into Claude Cowork. This is not that. This is a single line of contact where you request a task to be done, and Claude will go behind the scenes, go spin off a session of Cowork and take care of that task. So the first thing that I wanted to do was to figure out what I could do on the phone. So I requested a summary of a transcript that was in my downloads file. Both the phone and the laptop popped up an allow button. So I hit allow on the laptop. The allow button did not go away on the phone, and I waited and waited. As soon as I hit allow on the phone, all of the results came flooding back in. Do be aware you might get into some sort of blocking condition like that. So the results came back. It did a nice summary of the transcript. Not surprising, this is Claude after all, and this is all text-based. So I got good results. I was able to see it on my phone, and that worked exactly as I would expect. Then I asked it to pull up the action items. Same thing, that worked exactly as I'd expect, really flawlessly, visible on both the phone and in the dispatch area of Claude. So then I thought I would give it something just a little bit more complicated. I asked it to put the action items in a spreadsheet. So it went off and it was working on that. Now, this is one of the mildly frustrating things about Dispatch is you can see that it's working, but you can't see that it's doing anything. You can't see any action that it's taking. And this is by design. Because we're not actually logging into a Cowork session, we're just sending off a task and walking away, essentially. I think that's what they're intending, is that you set off a task and you walk away. You go do other things, you go about your day. You're not actually standing there working. You're sending off this task with the understanding that you come back in the future and see if it's done. Because the other thing is there's also no notification when a task is finished. You just have to come back in and check. So this did actually take quite a while. In fact, it took so long I thought I would fire off another task just to give it something else to do. I have a Notes to My Future Self database on my laptop, and I built an entire skill around it. So I was curious to see if I requested something from my Future Self database, would it be able to kick off that skill and use everything correctly? And would I have any indication that that skill was being used? So at this point, the spreadsheet came back and said it was ready for viewing. But I clicked here in the dispatch area, I clicked on my phone, nothing worked. I couldn't see it in either of the views. And that's the point when I actually noticed over in the recents section of Cowork, there were these dispatch threads from Cowork sessions that had been kicked off. And one of them was that action item spreadsheet. So I opened that up to see what was in there. And sure enough, that's where my spreadsheet was. I was able to open it up and take a look. So back in the dispatch channel, it found my Notes to My Future database. It said that I didn't have any results in there. Did I want to create some? Which is the expected behavior. And now that I knew that I had a separate Cowork session over here, I was able to take a look at that and see that it definitely had used the skill that I had built. That meant that this very specific database skill that I had set up was fully accessible from my phone. And I will say for this particular skill and project that I have set up for myself, just that dispatch text interaction is really all I need. I don't need a big spreadsheet. I don't need a document. Usually I just need to enter something real quickly or look up a piece of information. So I would say this is like the perfect use case for dispatch. And then later on, I came back to my phone and I thought I'd give it one more chance to see that spreadsheet. I asked it to show me the spreadsheet again, partly because I wanted to see how far back in its thread it could maintain context to that. It gave me that same link. I still couldn't open it. So at that point, I just basically told Claude, look, I can't open it. What's going on? And it gave me a downloaded spreadsheet. So I do think they are intending us to be able to see the artifacts of the tasks when possible. I don't know what that linkage problem was. This is still in research preview. It's early days. So I was really happy to see that if I just kept asking, eventually I could see it. Although I will say, perhaps viewing a spreadsheet on a phone really is not the ideal situation. So it was actually in the final editing of the video that everything started to really make sense. Dispatch really is a single thread of communication with Claude. Every task you ask for spins up a separate Cowork session, which really is how you would want it to work, because then you can come back in, find the individual dispatch sessions, and go continue to do work on that task. So it's actually really well organized. It makes a lot more sense now that I know it's not a remote view into an individual Cowork session. It's just a single request system into the greater Claude Cowork system. I actually really like how it works, and I'm curious to continue using it going forward to see how much this changes my workflow and if I really start thinking about things in a little bit more task-oriented process rather than a project-oriented process. I should also add a couple of caveats. There are questions because this is a single task and it maintains context all the way through. I'm not sure what happens as that context window fills up. Obviously, things are going to have to be bumped off, but I could easily see that you might be doing a series of related tasks and hopping around between them, especially given the way that this is structured. So that's just something to keep an eye on and see where that ends up. And just a quick word on safety. Because you can allow browser actions in here, and because when you fire off a task remotely, you can't see what it's doing. It's a black box as far as you're concerned. You can't see what Cowork is doing. You can't see the browser actions. You can't see what's happening. I don't know a better way to say this other than just be aware that if you are allowing browser actions and you ask for the browser to be used, the browser is going to be used. So just keep that in mind, the usual safety cautions here. So just a couple more bookkeeping things worth mentioning. Their current limitations that they're calling out. Obviously, your desktop has to be active because if you're sending a task to Cowork and your desktop is asleep, it's not going to be able to do anything. As we mentioned, it's one continuous thread. You can't start a new thread or manage multiple threads. All of your messages are just in that single thread, that dispatch location. There's no notifications when your tasks are done. You just have to come back in and check to see if it's finished. And finally, you can't schedule tasks in this thread. For whatever reason, you can't do it from here. You have to do it the normal way. Go into a Claude Cowork session and schedule tasks from there. All right, so overall, I am really happy to see this update. I love the idea that I can ask Cowork to do some work now when I'm away from my computer. I feel like this is the missing piece. I've been using remote control to run my Claude Code sessions for a little while now, and I just love it. I don't ever want to not work that way. So I am really happy to see this because I do think this is the missing piece for Cowork. I'm thrilled that Anthropic gave us this update. I think it will only get better as we go forward. And right now, even though it's maybe not perfect, it is so much better than not having it. All right, that's it for today. Just wanted to give you a quick overview. So once again, if you're on the Pro or the Max plan, you should see Dispatch rolling out to you soon if you don't have it already. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button. If you're interested in more of this kind of content, hit that subscribe button. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.